So, what action items do we have to start off?
Did you want to start off with Mr. Spinney?
Sure, why don't you come on up? So, first, before you do that, yes, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And then if you want to please just give your name, and address, and then what you'd like to let us know.
Sure. It's Bruce Spinney, 71 Potter Hill Road. And what I've done, I'm hosting a community outreach meeting on behalf of Spinney Enterprises for a retail marijuana facility at 130 Worcester Street next Thursday at 7 o'clock in this room.
Okay.
One of the processes by which you take this through the program is to just advertise in the newspaper. As you probably are well aware, getting attendance at these and getting people to understand what's going on is very difficult. So in addition to the normal protocol used to advertise for it, I've been going to each of the committees that will play a part in this particular process and inviting them directly to the meeting. So it'll be here. We'll, of course, put some more seats in, and then it will be taped as well.
Okay.
So, and I know the Concom doesn't have a process in the special permit piece of it, but for the site plan of it, you'll be an integral process of it as well. So that's all I'm trying to do, is just invite as many people as I can.
Very good,
I
thank you.
appreciate the time, and
No
enjoy
problem.
the rest of the meeting.
Thank you. Okay, okay. So action items. So we actually, other than at 7:15 opening and continuing hearing, we have now till 7:30, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And we actually should not open the 7:15. They did not notify butters.
Okay, then we will just make an announcement and that's it, okay. So action items. The 3-year extension, is that fairly straightforward?
Yes, so this was for Demetria Delights, on Creeper Hill Road. They made the request back in January, if you guys remember that, but their order doesn't expire until March of next year. So we were questioning why, and we were giving them the season to progress with their work and give an update.
Yep.
But they have not been in touch at all, so I was recommending denying
just-
the request, unless you guys want to keep it open.
So is this the first request for an extension?
I believe so. I can double check.
Yeah. From my perspective, if it was a second, or if, if it was trying to do another 3-year extension, then I'd be like, yeah, what's going on? What is this project for? Is it a,
They had an addition off
Okay.
the back of the building towards the soccer fields.
okay,
Um,
okay, yep,
It is
Yep.
their first request for an extension.
okay. Does anyone else have any kind of comments? I don't, to me, if someone's requesting, originally we were like, well, why are they asking so soon? You still got another year. And then, but denying it just because it's early, I don't really,
think that's,
yeah, I mean, that's kind of,
thanks.
I'd rather have someone be early than forget it and then do it, but,
True.
so this is it still has a year left to, and so we issued the order. It's valid, nothing has really changed.
Correct.
Do we have any kind of comments on, or ideas about whether we should or should not continue it? I mean, it's just a process to me.
You could take no action again, and I can reach out one more time.
Okay, we can do that. I mean, eventually, I mean, they've submitted it, they did it in a timely manner. I don't see any big issue, but it would be nice to know if they are planning not to start construction to 2022 or something. So that would be the only thing, so. Okay, so, so we'll take no action. Do you want to vote on that? Or we'll just come back?
No, you're fine.
You're fine? Great, okay. Is anyone out here for any of the action items? Or is this,
Back. In the back?
okay.
I believe Estabrook?
Correct.
Why don't you
Okay,
come on up?
that's the next thing. 44 Estabrook, a request for a minor project change.
Sure. If you could just give your name and address and.
David
just-
Kelly with Meridian Associates out of Beverly, Massachusetts.
Yeah, if you give just a quick, what the change is and so forth. and
Do you guys have the plan in front of you?
We
No, okay.
should, but we do on our iPads.
Okay, so you're familiar with the array that is proposed down there, the
Yes.
solar array that was approved with the wetland
Yep.
crossing, et cetera. When we got into the logistics of this being a dual-use Solar farm, there's gonna be, livestock underneath eating the grass, et cetera. We went through this whole process. But we didn't, at the time of permitting, provide a pen and a paddock for the animals to go at night to get out of the array. So we've
Okay.
proposed a little gravel road around the array to a paddock and a little holding area to the south of the panels. All the work for that is outside the buffer. We did update the drainage calcs, and there's no serious impact because it's area that was already disturbed to begin with. And then over on the western side, we've added a battery storage pack, a concrete pad for battery storage. That's inside the fenced area that was already proposed and approved. The fence line never changed.
Okay.
That's pretty much all we did. And we are going to the planning board for the minor change as well. And there's been no comments posted from department heads that have had any objections to this either.
Do you know if the fire department decided if the width needed to change?
The fire chief stated that since this is outside the solar array and it's for farm use, he was fine with it.
And what's the size of the paddock or the
The-
shed and so forth? And
The paddock is 28 by 38 with a
Okay.
12 by 36 structure on top of it. And then the paddock is 100 by 100 and that's just fenced in.
okay, yeah, that's fairly straightforward. That's just a fence. And then the other one is you extended the roadway. I'm just having a hard time figuring out, nothing's clouded or anything, so I'm having a hard time figuring out what was in the original submission versus what's here.
So on the right-hand side,
Yep.
there's that little T turnaround.
Yep.
The gray gravel access path that goes southerly and then
Okay.
has a dead end.
Yep.
That paddock, that house, and that little portion of the road is what's new.
Okay. And what's the total square foot of alteration that you're doing?
The area was already proposed to be altered. We're just putting in the gravel road and the paddock and the
And you're basically about 1 foot out of the buffer zone for this work.
Yeah.
Do I have any, so basically with a request for a minor change, so the commission has basically 3 kind of options here. One is we can just say it's a minor change, becomes administrative, and Leo will take care of it and update things. The second one is to say this is, raises to a significant level where we need to review it and we'll have a public hearing. The third and most extreme is that, oh my God, this has changed so much, we need to do a full notice of intent. I think it's safe to say we don't need a new notice of intent based on this change. So it's really about the comfort level of the commission about what these changes are in relative to the whole development and whether this is a minor or not. And probably the biggest change is kind of the cover has changed a little bit, and so the stormwater has changed a little bit, but it's not, being gravel is not too significant. But compared to the area of imperviousness, well, actually, it's not impervious anymore for the panels anymore, but does the commission have any kind of questions on the change or any kind of opinion on whether or not, this raises to something that we should have a more formal hearing on? This is me trying to get other people to talk.
It seems like a relatively minor change, but is there going to be any other alterations that come up in planning for the livestock that haven't already been planned for? It seems like this was something that would have come up before.
No, dude, when we initially had this, he was just gonna come to the T turnaround and let the livestock go, but then after doing a little bit more research and in talking with the sole developer, it made more sense to have an area where you can corral the animals in so they're not out there in bad weather. They have a shelter to go into, and if they need to go in there for maintenance, he can then pull the cattle out of the array, then go in, do their maintenance, and not have to worry about interfering with the livestock.
Can you, I forget how many head he was talking about.
It's like 4 to 6.
Yeah, so this isn't like,
It's smaller.
yeah, this is a pilot program to try to incorporate agriculture into solar fields. This one happens to be with beef production. So To me, that's great to have dual purpose instead of converting a green field to solar. This is, allows for a multiple use. So from my perspective, that's positive, and I would agree that this isn't too substantial of a change and so forth. And Leo, this isn't big enough to have a reviewer go back and look at this. It's just,
We actually, between planning and conservation, we had just asked Graves to chime in on the stormwater.
okay. And he'll do that for the planning board?
Both in conjunction, but I just checked their project page and it's not up yet, so,
We meet with planning next Monday.
okay. Do you know if Graves has chimed in yet?
I have not heard,
Okay.
Okay.
I can't see there being,
I mean, that would be the only thing that would say, you know, it just seems not the greatest use of our time or your time to schedule a public hearing where you have to then notify all the butters. It's not, yeah.
I don't think abutters came to the original project anyway.
No, that was very, yeah, yeah. Although that doesn't matter, it's due process, so.
Right. Understood.
So do I have a motion to, so the options, again, is to just do a minor change, and this would be more administratively. I don't think if we do that, we can put any conditions on it. Like, we can't say like, yeah, it's a minor change unless our peer reviewer comes back and says something significant. Since this is going to planning board too, if there's any changes, they'll have to come back anyways. So if you have a change because of that, you'll be back in front of us too. So, any other kind of questions or comments from the commissioners? Okay. Do I have a motion?
To just kind of accept that this is a minor change.
As a minor change, yep.
Yeah, I'll move to accept that this is a minor change.
Do I have a second?
Second it.
All those in favor? Good luck.
Excellent, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, anything else, anyone else here for any of the action items? Anyone know of any of the action items that you may be here for? Okay, so you're here for hearings, that's fine. We have to do the hearings according to when they're on, as far as time goes. So let's request a certificate of compliances. So can we take these as a group, or do we need to go through each one?
You can do the 3 for Brook Meadow Lane. It's the last 3 houses in Brook Meadow Village, 4, 6, and 8. They are all done now. The site's stable for each one, and we have as-built plans on file.
Okay. Do I have a motion for 4, 6, and 8 Brook Meadow?
Motion to grant certificate of compliance for 4, 6, and 8 Brook Meadow Lane.
Second?
I second it.
All those in favor? Okay. 19 Leland Ave?
This was one that we talked about last time. They had some issues with the owner pulling out their no disturb signage, so they were gonna go back and put in something stronger. I did not make it back to check if that was done, although I did send an email this morning asking for an update, but I didn't get one back,
Okay.
so,
So we'll take no action?
yeah.
Okay. The CR for Robinson Land,
That's not ready yet.
it's not ready yet?
Nope.
Okay. Conservation land use authorization for Pell Farm Trail Ride?
This is just, it's really minor. The Bay State Trail Riders had come and got authorization to use Pell Farm for their trail ride from us before. It was in February that they came to a meeting. They had planned on having the ride on July 21. They are changing it to October 13, just because we used the date in the motion. I figured the motion should be amended.
So we're just amending it, okay. So do I have a motion to amend the authorization for the trail ride because it changed the date to October 13th?
I will motion to amend that to the October 13th.
Do I have a second?
Right here.
All those in favor? Okay. Discussion items. The drainage on Adams Road. Yes. Do we have anyone from DPW? Do we have any updates?
The select board has signed an agreement with VHB to
Okay.
design, which there's a copy of that in Dropbox, to design the drainage line.
Okay,
Their work is likely gonna be outside the buffer zone.
okay.
I was suggesting we get a copy of the proposed design for the file anyway, because they have an existing filing.
Yeah, because
I
we have,
just-
do we have an enforcement order of this?
No.
Okay.
We never did an enforcement order, but the town's order for the road work is still open.
Okay, so they can't close that. So if you want to come up, yeah, just, if you could, I think you know the routine, name and address.
Hi, Sandra, how are you? Thank you. Ethel Jaggy, 34 Adams Road.
So, have you seen the plans yet? Well, the plans aren't done yet. Are you familiar with the?
Yeah, they were out there surveying the property on Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay, do you know which version they're going after, whether they're gonna go down the street or go into the butters?
They referenced one in their contract, and I have it in Dropbox as a
They
separate file.
referenced lot 38.
Okay, so that's okay. So are they keeping you keeping you
Yes.
updated?
Yes, they are. So last, 2 weeks, but 2 weeks ago, they signed a contract with VHB to come out and redesign the current drainage outlet that's on my lot.
Okay,
They came out and surveyed, and it was determined it's on my lot.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
VHB was saying it's not, and the town was saying it's not.
all right,
So of
so,
course it is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because of the length of time it's taken, I retained an attorney and I retained another engineering firm to come out and review the project as a whole, and they're starting that process as well.
okay,
VHB needs the town needs the funding, and they were planning to go to town meeting in October to get
Okay.
the funding, and they're planning to take take an easement on Brian Kelly's by eminent domain.
by eminent domain, okay.
So they need the funding to do that.
Okay,
And because I'm not confident that that was gonna happen, that the town was gonna get the funding, and they've been dragging their feet on this since last July. And, all the feedback I got from the town and VHB was negative. It's not our fault, it's all of
Yeah.
that. So I unfortunately had to hire my own legal counsel.
yeah, and that's totally within.
So they've requested now, and I'm not sure Leah should have the request for all documentation, all text messages, all emails.
Yep.
All communications.
Yep. I gave a stack this big to the town clerk.
And they're gonna want the new proposal, the new documents as
Agreements,
well
yeah.
going forward.
Yep.
But, the other reason I did that was I was expecting, when I came into the Conservation Committee, that they would put a strict enforcement in. And so that way the town would be forced to do it and find the funding within the
Yep.
town budget. That didn't happen.
That hasn't happened yet,
So-
yeah. I
Well,
mean,
so that's why I went forward and
Yeah.
hired my own legal
and that's
counsel.
fine, that's totally up to you.
Yeah.
That's definitely within your right, and you're
Yes.
doing what you need to do to protect your property.
Correct.
From my perspective, as long as there is something going on, in that they're totally not doing anything, then that's it. Unfortunately, just because it's a town process and they have to go to town meeting, and that's kind of, from my perspective, is seeing that process go through. I totally am sympathetic to your waiting around and not having something done. They did do something immediately to cut the flow, but then again.
No, they didn't.
Oh, I thought
unfortunately.
they,
Well, they covered up some of the drains on the road, but I actually put rocks into the pipe that was coming onto my
Yeah.
property.
But-
To cut the power of the flow.
the velocity,
Yeah.
you're slowing it
Yeah.
down so it's not so erosive. So,
Exactly.
and I understand that, and so, from my perspective and from the commission's perspective, we want to see it resolved. We still have the ability to do enforcement order, but there is progress on this, so it will be different if in the October town meeting, they don't get the funding.
So they were supposed to give an update tonight, and they didn't provide that?
We haven't gotten anything from
And that
DPW.
was
We-
the same
They
case?
were here,
That is the update when I'm copied in on all the emails and the meetings that are held, and
yeah,
In the last meeting that was canceled, that was the same case? The town didn't give you an update as well? So it's been more than
when our
about-
July meeting was canceled.
Yeah, so it's been six or 8 weeks
Yep.
since they've provided you guys with an update.
So, yes, no, I appreciate you showing up, and obviously this is on the list here to talk about.
Isn't there some follow-up? I mean, they should be following up. If we have to, be involved in this process, don't you think the town should have to come in and have a representative here and explain what they're doing?
Yeah, and I
Give you
think,
guys an update?
I think because of, our agent is getting updates through being copied on things, so things are moving forward. Unfortunately, it's slow because of the process. That's why it's on here tonight, is because we had this update. So that's why we're gonna talk about it, which is why it's listed on the agenda.
Okay.
So, no,
All right.
you need to do what you need to
Yeah,
do.
I know, yeah.
And, it's really gonna come down to the town meeting, and we'll see what happens. If it goes ahead, then, it's gonna take time, and that's not,
Yeah, I know, I understand.
okay.
Thank
Thank you. The potential conservation land donation,
Yes, this is a
okay.
big one. Maybe most of the audience is here for.
Okay. Can you hold on for one moment? I'm just going to make a quick announcement that the scheduled 7:15 hearing for 7 Stratton Road, just in case anyone is here for that, that is going to be continued because the notification did not happen according to plan. I'm also going to have to say that, I'll have to double check this. This is Gilmore, okay, building company. Yeah, so I misread the company, because I was about to recuse myself, but it's not the right company. Just letting the audience, in case anyone's here, know that we're not going to have that hearing. We can't open it up, so just for the information. So we'll get back to potential donation of conservation land at 93 North Street. So come on up.
You want me at the table or at the podium?
Whatever you feel more comfortable at.
Sure.
If you could, please just give your name and address, and then let us know what you're here for.
I'm Bert Engvall, 11 West River Street, Upton, Mass. I represent the Engvall Nominee Family Trust of 93 North Street, Grafton, Mass. And we are here to propose to the Conservation Commission a donation of some of our family land. And Leah, if you'd be willing to start the PowerPoint, I can.
I don't have a screen tonight.
We
you
have,
don't?
we have technical difficulties.
Okay.
We all have iPads.
Oh, true.
The only problem is that the audience doesn't have it. So open meeting laws creates a little bit of a hiccup here, because we're not supposed to see anything that the public, which is why we have this. So, I'm trying to think of,
I mean, I have it right here. I can
yeah,
put it over there.
yep. So, yeah, if anyone is interested in seeing the PowerPoint, you're gonna have to look at the laptop. And we all can follow along on our iPads.
Okay.
Right. It's unfortunate. I mean, this is a discussion item. If this was a public hearing, I wouldn't allow any of this to happen, but, unfortunately, it's, unless there's an IT person in here that can help fix our new and improved, display system, but that's not gonna happen. Yep. Well, people can come up and take a look if they wanna follow along.
Or you can put that here and I can stand over there, either one.
Yeah.
Whichever you'd like to do. I'm gonna catch it out of the corner of my eye as well. So, our family, thank you, Leah. Do you mind advancing that? Thank you. So the proposal is before you, and let's check my vision. Here's the proposal. The Engvall Family Nominee Trust would like to propose for the consideration of the Grafton Conservation Commission our donation of approximately 17 acres of agricultural land and woodlot to the town of Grafton at no cost to the town. We envision that a conservation restriction to be held by the Grafton Land Trust would be placed on these 17 acres and that they would be used for public access for passive recreation using multi-use trails, for wildlife habitat protection, and for community gardening. Thank you. So what you see on the screen now and what the commission members have before them is a rough sketch. It is a concept sketch of what we're proposing. It isn't cast in electrons. At this point, it is not cast in stone by any means. I am not slamming my fist on the table and saying this has to be it. This is a rough sketch put together by my brother. I'm looking at this version, and what is listed as wetlands looks like small ponds, particularly on the computer here. The wetlands are more brook, and they are intermittent wetlands, vernal pool type things. They are not ponds or lakes as is shown in the printouts or in the presentation here. So here are the advantages to the citizens of Grafton. I grew up in Grafton. When I grew up in Grafton, the population was 14,000. That was a few years ago. Now, as you all know, it's over 18,000. I used to be in the fire department as well, and I could pretty much get a fire truck to any street in town. Now, when I look at the street map and the street list of roads in Grafton, I'm just amazed at how many I do not know. So the town is growing rapidly, and there's also the zoning map there as well. There's a picture of a community garden from where we live in Upton, just to show you a rough concept of what we're thinking. And when there's pauses, thank you, Leah, that's your cue. More advantages to the citizens of Grafton. So it will create passive recreation opportunities for multi-use trails and paths. Also, it will be used for, and there's new pictures with these too, as well. They're pictures from the property, and you can see that in the rough sketch concept back on the second page, my brother had put in some possible trails that are there. And there are some existing farm roads that may lend themselves to trails. Also, my brother drew in pictures of potential gardens, community gardens, as we saw the picture of the ones in Upton. So he drew one similar to that. This also provides great opportunities for scout projects. There's a picture of one of the Grafton Land Trust properties, Forbush Sanctuary on North Street, further up. And one of our sons, this is not an advertisement or a plug, however, is an Eagle Project built the trail there. So a lot of the trails could be potentially built by scouts. And both Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts for their gold awards and gold projects. And this will cost nothing to the town. We've had the surveying done already. More detailed maps of the property can be given to the commission, including wetland designation by Waterman and Associates over in Westboro. So we are not looking for any contributions from the town, any cost to the town. Our legal costs we are covering as well. So the reason, dramatic pause. So the reason for doing this is this land was farmed by my mother's family and my family, pardon me if I get emotional during the last part of this, for 4 generations. It started as a vegetable farm, then it transformed into an apple and peach orchard, and then there's this young guy in that picture, along with little kids. It ended up as a Christmas tree farm. for the past 20, 25 years, till that young guy was no longer so young and didn't want to grow Christmas trees anymore. So it has gone through many iterations, but it has been in our family for 4 generations. And finally, Leo, last dramatic pause, or next to last. So there's the house, and the farmhouse is not part of what we're proposing, but I wanted to show pictures of it. Maybe you recognize it. It's on North Street, in between the new development on Clearview that's going in, and also Stonegate Circle just below the property as well. So the first picture in black and white is from the 1890s. Middle picture is from the 1980s. And then the last picture is what we call the summer house. Growing up, there was a little house in the yard that had screens, and on hot summer nights, people would sleep out there during the summer instead of in the hot house. This was pre-mini split days and central air conditioning days. Next to last dramatic pause. So why we're doing this? It was my mother's wish. There's 2 pictures of her there. One with her 2 siblings. She is the little girl on the left, the youngest of the 3 and the smallest of the 3. And then a picture of her in her later years. And she was a lifelong resident of Grafton, truly from birth to death. She died in the farmhouse back in February, and she spent her entire life at that farm, and she loved that farm, and she loved this town. Excuse me. And she was proud of her farm heritage, and she really was under the belief during her last months and years that the family would do the right thing, what we view as the right thing, and donate her beloved farm, hopefully to the town of Grafton. Last dramatic pause, and we thank you for your time.
May
So-
I applaud you?
Thank you.
Sir, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
So we appreciate that, and so whenever we, have an offer for land, or whether we're, pursuing it, in here it's talking about the fact that the Grafton Land Trust will have a conservation restriction on it. And that's important for us to when we're looking at pieces of land, because one thing you don't want to do is just acquire land without having a use to it, without having a caretaker to it, without exposing unnecessary liability to the town. So what we look at is the land itself. We would have to go through the selectmen to get it approved, is my understanding, which is, but we would recommend that type of process. Partnering with the land trust, which gives us, which basically allows for caretaking of the property. That's a really important component of this, is that it's not just a piece of land that, for a lot of reasons, that can be used for something different. The language you have in here is very important. When a donation is made like this, and it's made specifically for, I don't know if the wording was chosen intentionally, because that falls under Article 97, which is very important because it really restricts the use of the property in the future, which is if your wish is, and for your mother's wish, to have it stay as green space and have it as, recreational, passive recreational, and, the use of it as maybe as a town garden area, those type of things. When you do that, and when you do this intentional type of donation, there's a lot of other protections on the state level for this property. Then you lay over it the conservation restriction, and that's a pretty formidable thing for someone to overcome in 5 years or 50 years. So that's, from my perspective, is important, that we don't want to accept this and do not want to be faithful to the intent of why it's being donated. So there's a process that we need to go through.
May I say something, Madam
Yes.
Chairperson? I understand fully that there's a process involved. This is just the initial conversation. We're fully aware of the process. We know it's convoluted and Byzantine and lengthy. We also know that with a conservation restriction, there are three parties, in this case, it'd be three parties involved. The landowner, which would be the town of Grafton.
Right.
There would be the holder of the conservation restriction, and I think the family would be part of it as well, since,
Yeah,
And-
because it's your property and you're donating it, you have a lot of say in what the use of it is.
Right.
So,
and I will be retiring at the end of this year, so I am willing publicly, and this is pretty public, I am willing publicly to undertake the responsibility of leading the conservation restriction procurement.
okay, which is great. And the good news is there is a state system, a state process out there. And as long as you stick to the templates and go through the process, it should be a fairly straight line. I think the first thing that we need to do is to reach out to the selectmen to make sure they would be as enthusiastic, I'm gonna say as I am. I will let the other conservation commissioners chime in, but we need to make sure that there isn't something I'm not thinking of. Leah, have we sent this information to them yet, or are they aware of it?
The select board, I'm not certain. I've been talking to recreation about it. And
Okay.
they're interested in it as well.
Okay. So, obviously, we'll help with that process. But and to be quite honest, I've been involved where the town buys land. I haven't had the privilege of sitting on here where someone's walked in and say, would you like 17 acres? So this is a new one on me, so I have no problem admitting that. So we'll have to, go through that process and look to, the folks in town hall and the selectman's office in partnership with the land trust to kind of work out what exactly that process is. Like you said, you think that you would walk in and say, here's a piece of land. It's not quite that simple steps, but it shouldn't be that difficult to do because of the no cost to the town. So,
I realize I'm not going to walk out that door, and I think the last time I walked out that door, I was probably 12 years old. I forget what class I had in this room. But anyway, I knew we would not be walking out of this room tonight with the town saying, sure, we'll take it. I knew this was the beginning of the
Right.
process, and I appreciate the commission's willingness to move this forward, at least the chair's willingness
correct, and I was,
to move this
yeah.
forward. Obviously, you can't speak, and of course, I can't speak for the other commissioners, but at least the chair seems to be on board with this.
So what I would do next is just really to have a straw poll of the commission, and we will reach out to the selectmen and to town council to figure out what. So at this point, does anyone, please, folks on the commission, kind of give me feedback on what you think about this donation and whether we should pursue it and so forth.
I'd like to say something.
Sure.
I would like to commend you and your family for doing something as generous as this. And after all the legalities and all the processes, your donation is enormous to this town. And I thank you. And I think the town will enjoy this and grow and enjoy the open space of your property, and the history and the spirit on your property will be ever so much enjoyed, and I'm sure your mom would be delighted with the future people enjoying your land. And I thank you so much personally.
Thank you, Commissioner Cheney, for those kind words. When we were wrapping up selling Christmas trees at the farm the last few years, people asked, what are you going to do with all this land? And I said, I can tell you one thing we will not do with it, and that's grow houses. We're growing 4 houses, so we're having a small crop. However, the bulk of the land is part of this. There are 22 acres there, 4 of which have been sold, to be honest, to support my mother during her final months. However, the vast majority, roughly 70 to 75% of the farm, is part of the 17 acres. So I'd like to think we were brought up to do the right thing, and this feels like we're doing the right thing.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Other commissioners?
Yeah, I would just like to echo the commission's enthusiasm, and I think it's really, it's exciting, and it's a great thing that you guys are doing, and it definitely has my support.
Thank you, Commissioner Hugo.
Pleasant surprise for me tonight, so.
I think I'm really excited about the idea of having community gardening here in Grafton, because a lot of my friends take advantage of it in other towns, and my yard has had we don't really have a good area for gardening, and I know a lot of my neighbors too, so I think that'd be I support that.
Thank you, Commissioner Bergeron, and thank you, Chairman Brock.
So I would we do need to get going here,
Sure,
but
I
think
understand.
to me, I'm sorry, it's worth the process going through. If there's anyone else that'd like to speak on this briefly, feel free to come on up and give your name and I know this is not a public hearing, but I'm looking to the land trust folks. If you want to say, yeah.
Hi, this is Rob Aberg, 43 South Street. I've been working with Engvalls, approached us, I think last year, about a year ago, I think, to talk about, what's the right thing to do with the property, and seeing as it was more in town and kind of level, it seemed to fit more with something recreation, and a park could do more with it than the land trust could, so the town might be a better owner. And so we discussed it, probably, I don't know, 100 emails between everybody.
I had lost count. We need exponents too.
So we came up with a lot of options, and so we could still, the land trust is happy to iterate more. Paul Grady, Potter Hill Farm, he's on the land trust board, and he also thought a pavilion for selling vegetables for community. You have your community garden, you want to, get together and have a farmer's market, might take some burden off the common. So the Facebook post got almost 5,000 views, about 500 likes. Our typical post is about 500 views and about 3 likes or 10 likes. So this is clearly an order of magnitude more interesting than the standard fare for the land trust. So the town is very excited about this, judging, I don't know, we only have 1,500 people that subscribe to it, so having 5,000 people read it was sort of interesting. And so we just the land trust wants to find the best owner and the best use for the property, and we're happy to be involved as much as we can.
Okay, great.
I know other board members are here tonight as well and have also some more ideas as well.
Okay,
Thank
thank you very much. This is great. So again, what we'll do is once we get going, because we need to do some other public hearings, is to basically, I don't even know if we need to take a vote, just to reach out to the selectmen, so we'll reach out to the selectmen, find out what the process is. Please feel free to contact Leah at the office to get updates, but we'll, in fact, if you already have given her your information, we can communicate, let you know what's going on, and we'll let you know what that process is, and if you need to go in front of the selectmen also, because I can tell you, this commission can't accept land on the behalf of the town. That I do know. But we can go through that process and find that out, so thank you very much, unless there's anyone else to say anything.
Jen Anderson, Recreation Director. How are you guys? So we've been talking with the Engvalls as well, just throwing a couple different ideas I threw out with them, with them approaching and getting the information from Rob and Leah. We definitely are interested. We're hoping to be part of fulfilling their vision and throwing out some other ideas that maybe they would consider. So again, just whatever part of that process that we can be part of, if you guys would be interested in us partaking in it. Just making sure whatever we would need to do to be part of the loop, make sure we're included, so.
I have to get a little I have to learn a little bit about what the process is gonna be, and then we can probably have more decisions on that,
Sure,
so, great,
Sure,
yeah.
yeah, so however we can put a part of it, same with Rob, we're definitely interested in trying to pursue
Great,
things happening there, so.
all right, thank you. All right, thank you very much. We're getting a little bit behind, so I'm gonna have to switch to the next, actually, the public hearing, so. Oops. Okay. All right, so we'll jump to the 7:30 public hearing. This is for 15 Windle Ave. Okay, pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Conservation Commission held a public hearing on Tuesday, September 17th, to act upon notice of intent and application for wetlands bylaw permit for a potential to consider denial based on period of inactivity. So is there anyone here for 15 Windle Ave? Okay, so basically, we've gone through the notification.
That gentleman
Whoop.
just raised
He's in
his
a
hand.
butter.
Well, sure, let me explain what's going on, is so, because it kept getting continued, okay? We actually reached out to folks at DEP to find out, how can we stop this? And, it doesn't make sense, nothing's changing, nothing's being updated or anything like that. So, they basically told us that we would have to wait for 2 years. So and the last time that we continued it to a date unknown. When we continued it to date unknown, we had put in that, let's see when it hits 2 years, because if it's inactive for 2 years, we can then deny it. So the commission did the notifications and so forth, correct?
Correct. I do need to add in one more bullet point to this, and that is that in response to the advertisement,
Yep.
the applicant sent a certified letter requesting withdrawal instead.
Oh, okay. So it took this long for for the applicant to actually say, yeah, we're gonna withdraw. So from my perspective, whether we withdraw or denial, it's the same thing. It's been on our books, and for a while they used to talk about it just about at every meeting, and we finally said, no, we can't continue these continuations. So, so if we have a certified mail that's gonna say it's withdrawn, we'll vote on that, and that means the application has been withdrawn, and if they do anything else out there, they have to come back before us. So we could bring it up at a later date? Right, we're not denying anything, it's just inactivity, so we're just saying, that's fine, but we don't have to listen to it anymore, we don't have to keep it on our calendar. So. And I'll be notified. Absolutely, if you're notified for this hearing, if anything else comes back, you would be notified again.
I have one, I'm in 6 Windle Ave.
Could you just, your name?
Harold Mayer.
There we go, so that's why, from us, it's more of a housekeeping thing that we're trying to do, we have this outstanding application that no one's doing anything with, so we're about to resolve that particular issue for us, and then we'll be done with it until, if anyone else wants to do it on that piece of property, they'd have to come back to us, so do I hear a motion to withdraw without prejudice the notice of intent?
I will move to withdraw without prejudice the notice of intent.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
All those in favor? It's no longer in front of us anymore, and we're done with it for now, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. All right, so 7:45 is asked for continuation, so I can read that and we can do that.
Yep.
Great. Pursuant to the Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon an application for Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw permit for the construction of a pump station at 98 Worcester Street in Grafton, Mass. The applicant has requested a continuance. Do I have a motion?
I will motion to grant continuance to October 1st for 98 Worcester Street.
Second?
I second it.
All those in favor? Okay, great. We're all caught up. Okay. So 88 Adams Road is there asked for continuance?
Correct.
Okay, so I'm going to read that one quickly, we can move on from that. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw permit, application of Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw permit for the construction of a 39-lot subdivision at 88 Adams Road called The Writings. The applicant has requested a continuance to October 1st. Do I hear a motion?
Would move to grant the continuance to October 1st for 88 Adams Road.
I second it.
All those in favor? Great. The last public hearing, which is a continuance, is for 15 Meadowbrook Road. Anyone here for that?
No,
Okay.
which I did not expect.
Okay, so,
So we went back and forth a little bit on this one, between me and the applicant on did they want to come tonight or not?
okay,
Because I had just suggested that they request a continuance because we were still waiting on peer reviews and things.
Yep.
So I just said if you wanted to put it off, we could skip one, date, but he wanted to come anyway, so I thought they would be here.
okay. So basically, we don't have all the peer review information back,
Correct.
and there's no one who, for the application here.
Nope.
So do I hear a motion to continue to the next public hearing?
I will move to continue.
Oh, wait a minute, I have to read it in first, sorry. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw and the Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw permit, application for Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw permit for 3 single-family lot development at 15 Meadowbrook Road. We do not have peer review, and the applicant is not here. Do I have a motion to continue?
I'll move to continue to October 1st for 15 Meadowbrook Road.
Second.
I second it.
All those in favor? Great, okay. All right, no more public hearings? I didn't miss anything, did I?
So,
Okay. Action items, so we are down to Elmrock Estates. And I see someone rustling with papers and so forth. Come on up if you're with Elmrock, and name and address and so forth, and,
Hi. My name is Phil Caraccio with Elmrock Estates, with Eastland Partners. I wanted to come in tonight, introduce myself, and give kind of an update of where we are.
sure. The only thing I'm gonna have to say, either at the stand or sitting, because this is on TV, we have to speak into the microphones.
Okay. I'm gonna hand some pictures out.
Sure, absolutely.
Pictures of pond and stuff. My card as well, so at least
Okay.
you know what you're talking to.
Thank you.
You need to reach me.
Yep.
As I said, my name is Phil Caraccio with Eastland Partners, and here for Elm Rock Estates. I'm here to kind of give you an update of where we've been over there. I don't know if any of you have driven by, but we've made some significant changes over there. We actually have Lot 1 foundation is actually in. Those pictures I sent you of the detention basin that we seeded the other day. Our disturbance area is, we've been told is 5 acres. We actually didn't realize that. We think that because we have notice of intents on the other lots, the wetland lots, those are its own entities. So what I'm here for tonight is to discuss with all of you. I'm gonna do this. I have show and tells. Figure that way everybody
Thank
can
you.
see.
Thank you.
Would you like one? If you look on your plan, the area that's highlighted in yellow will all be stabilized by Friday of this week, which is approximately 1.83 acres. What I'm looking to do is see if Leah's available to come out probably Monday and take a peek around. She can look at the ponds and everything that's stabilized, everything will be seeded and tackified. I'm looking to see if we can go ahead and do phase 2, which is the blue, outlined in the blue, as well as the green, which is those wetland lots, because I do have my notice of intent. Once I stabilize these area, my disturbance is about roughly 5.8 acres, so 6 acres, which is different from the 5 acres, which some people think that's what my order of conditions say, which I have. Each of these wetland lots have their own order of conditions, but then the overall site strictly says it encompasses the roadway and drainage areas. So I'm not looking to go any further out of the extent, but I'm trying to get as much done as I can this year and catch the growing season when I can, as well as the paving, so I'm looking to move into approximately 6 acres.
Okay. Have you been able to go out to the site and,
Not in a little while.
okay,
Last time I was out was when we checked the erosion control.
okay. That was probably beginning of the season?
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, we have the 5-acre rule just because it's unfortunate that we've had very bad experiences. And 5 acres is kind of a good measuring stick to, keep people in check, that they don't totally go and clear cut everything. Clear cutting actually isn't what we're worried about. It's the grubbing, it's the disturbance of the soil and so forth. So, so from my perspective, it's all about how the site is being controlled and how much it's being activated, and how much protection is out there. So, like as far as the ponds go and going in and trying to get them constructed and stabilized is a good first step. It's just the method of stabilization and where you're at with it. That's really what we're concerned
Yeah.
with. So, it looks like, it's just, so we would be interested in, and you said that you use the tackifier and so
Yes.
forth. So the question on my mind is just what kind of tackifier you are, because typically we want to see vegetation growing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be fully 100%, but we want to see it stabilized. So it's really about understanding where it's at, and you said you just did it, and so that means it has not gone through any rainstorms or anything else. Depending upon the tackifier you're using is going to be your success on whether that is fully stabilized or not. So having Leah go out and take a look at it's a good first step.
I can have all that data exactly.
Yeah, that's good. I understand there's a wide, and you go out and just hydroseed it versus going out there and putting truly a tackifier down. So from my perspective, the 5 acres we put in there because we want to control it, but it really comes down to how the site's being controlled. So that's my perspective on it. So I don't know, since we haven't been out there, that's like the first thing. Let's go out, take a look at it. What's the condition of the erosion control? How has it, survived since it first got put in? Is there any issues with it? Other areas, that need to be improved or anything like that? Take a look at the basins and so forth. So when you say the 6 acres, that include the basin?
Yes.
Okay, so that makes a big difference.
Yes.
So you may be under the 5 acres anyways.
Right, but like I said, the original roadway, if you look up the roadway
Yep.
in the basins was 3.2 acres, just
Yep.
that. But it takes material to build those areas.
Yep.
And unfortunately, to get those going, you need fills, you gotta grade into them, it becomes tough, and to try to get it all.
So that to me is, that's means and methods, that's a contractor's,
Right,
yeah,
and
so.
that's it, but it's also common, flow of water we have to channel everywhere, and that's why our biggest thing is always know where the water's going to go.
Yeah.
Because that's when people get into trouble. you
Right,
know.
and absolutely, and again, unfortunately, we've had some really, we've had mud rivers going down streets. So we're here to protect against that. So Yeah, so it's not, once you hit 5 acres and you're 5.01, oh my God, but it's like, how are you taking care of the site? So that's what we want to do. And if you're going in and doing, like, my first question, so you go in, you do your detention basin, and you stabilize it, what's going into that detention basin? It scares me that you're stabilizing the detention basin right off the bat, because what kind of water is getting into there? So when you do runoff, is it, are you gonna be going in there every 6 months to clean it out?
I don't anticipate that coming. We do everything, check dams, temporary basins.
Which is
I
great.
I understand,
Yeah.
but.
But yeah, from my perspective, it's really just making sure we get someone out there to
Mhm.
take a look at it, so. So what's the specific thing that you're looking for, is just to have the lots be able to be opened up?
Yes, now it gives me the enough area to get everything going. Looks
Okay.
like I said, it's roughly, with the lots in the ponds, roughly 6 acres,
Okay.
which is 1 acre more, but, like I said, the notice of intent versus order of condition, I know,
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but yeah, so from my perspective, I mean, I don't have, and Leah, you tell me, I don't have any problem delegating Leah going out and taking a look at it and to see if it's being, if the erosion control is there that's supposed to be there, and if the basins are tackified and so forth, and then
Mhm.
opening up the other areas. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. Leah, do you have any issues with that?
No, I can certainly go out. I just have one question that it would be helpful for the commission to just speak to, which is, we keep getting the question in the office that they have individual orders for those lots that are near wetlands, which are, the ones, I think they're in green on the plan. So I keep getting, pushback that it's really just the road and the detention basins, and how can we be looking at anything beyond?
That's.
But we look at the whole site as a whole for the purposes of a phasing plan, so it would just be great if you guys could speak to that.
Sure, I have no problem speaking to that. So when I'm looking at it and you're doing erosion control plan, you're not submitting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 SWIPs, correct? You did 1 SWIP.
no, I believe there were 7 completed, to be honest.
No, SWIPs, stormwater pollution prevention
Yes, sorry,
plans.
yes.
Okay, so you did 1 erosion control plan. So if you do 1 erosion control plan, it's for the site. Okay, and whether you're talking NIPDs or you're talking notice of intent, we're gonna look at it as a site, and that's how much is altered there. You wouldn't be able to touch those lots if you didn't have the individual NOIs. So I don't have a problem with that, and again, if it's being maintained, I don't have a problem with, delegating that authority to release those lots. But to me, it's like, yeah, there's no gray area to me. You can disagree, and I'm
No,
fine with
just-
that.
Honestly, I just want to try to get the job moved forward and get
Yep.
everything stable before the weather gets rough.
Yeah,
and-
and if that's your
what
goal,
That's my goal.
if that's your goal, I don't want to prevent you from doing that.
Mm.
So, we're into halfway through September. You got probably a month and a half or so of growing, depending upon
Exactly.
the weather. So I'd rather have you be aggressive and stabilize things. I don't have a problem with that. But again, it's lessons learned, and with contractors coming in, developers coming in front of us and say, yeah, don't worry, we have everything all set.
Right, and
And then we're out there in the first spring and chasing the mud down the road.
oh, I know, I've been in this business for a lot of years,
Yeah.
and I've chased the mud, and I've tried to learn from my mistakes, and that
Yep.
brings me to where I am today.
Which again is it's controlling it, and so what we want to do is make sure. So the communication, the fact you come in, you're communicating, that's what we need to have. And so if there is a problem, come in and tell us. It's much better if you come and tell us and we can solve it versus an abutter says, I've got a, river,
Oh, exactly.
mud river running down my street. So, I mean, that's what goes around comes around type of things. And so we have certain responsibilities, and that's all we're trying to do. We're not trying to slow you down in any way.
Okay.
So, so that's my opinion, I'm looking at it. It's a single erosion control plan. You're not gonna, you can't, separate everything under the SWIP front plan, and so I'm kind of giving my nod to the feds and in the state and how they do it, so we're gonna follow that same suit,
Okay.
so having said all of that, we'd like to have Leah go out.
Yeah, I'd love her to come
Yeah.
out. You know, like I said, by the end of the week, I'll have that area done. Everything will be
Yep.
tackified and everything. I'll have the literature on all the stuff,
Okay,
which I can probably send you beforehand.
okay.
Email it over to you, and then she can walk that, and I'll show her the areas that we're looking to go. And like I said, it's not much. I'm not trying to get into way back, just to get that stable.
Yeah, again, it's not, you're not coming in and say, can I do, what is it, 12 acres, 14 acres,
Yeah.
whatever you said. You're not doing the whole thing. So I'm fine with that. And I'm also fine with our agent going out there and taking a look at everything and making that decision there, as opposed to waiting, and then she can give us the update on at the October meeting.
I mean, I'm gladly coming in at your next meeting as
Yeah.
well, and come in and give you some more.
I would say play it by ear and see, eyes on the ground is what we need to take a look at it. Any issues with that?
Nope.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments on that, or any suggestions on it, or?
Makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, and, well, basically is arrange with Leah if we're doing that. Do we even need to do a vote to delegate? Yeah, that's part of her job.
Okay.
So, but what she can report out at the next one, if for some reason there's any issues, she can let you know and you come back. Otherwise, keep on going, and please keep the dialogue with the office going, and we can kind of keep on going.
All right.
All right,
Sounds good.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing the colored plans. We usually have our, we,
It makes it easy. I brought a bigger one too, in case.
Yeah, it's okay.
Ours like mine, but I figured those are pretty good. Well, thank you very much for your time and your patience.
okay,
Leah, I'll drop you a line and
Sure.
schedule a meeting.
Sounds good.
all right, good luck.
Thank you.
May you not have any rivers of mud.
No. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Okay, what else we have here?
Minutes?
Minutes, okay.
Not sure.
I'm sorry, is there a reason,
I'm just wondering if you might be able to see the Big Bummit Brook, that, I know it said that there was, the application's on file and available for public inspection
Yep.
at the office, and I just didn't, it seems like this is a tremendous issue that's been going on for some time, and that there's.
so were you here earlier when we actually,
Yes, I did.
okay. So the good news, well,
I heard, yes.
but the good news is, which is great, which this town does, Grafton does a really good job. Anything that comes in front of us, it is all on the website. You can download all the PDFs, right?
I actually have to stop you there, because when it was like years ongoing,
Yeah,
I
you
had to
took it
take
down?
it down because it was using so much of the storage on the
Okay.
webpage. But I can send you everything via email if that works.
Okay, all right, that works out great. And I think I'm just a property owner and a butter in the area. My family's owned land there for 65 years. And I'm very familiar with the woods and the area, so I just appreciate the transparency in this process.
Yep.
But it's certainly, when I looked at the property, I can see that the owner is not paying their taxes regularly. And so there's other issues
Yeah.
that I just wanted to familiarize myself with the request. It just seems like a waste of taxpayer resources to continue to have someone come back with a notice of request and then withdraw it and then come back and have all these notices have to go to property owners. So I think I just wanted to look more at the file and see
You're,
if there's any suggestions that maybe some of us as residents could help offer to stop the nonsense.
sure, and can you just give your name and address?
Sure, my name is Angela Achu, and I own property at 30 Nelson Street in
Okay.
Grafton.
So, I mean, we went to DEP because we felt like we were wasting valuable public hearing time. And so we did what we thought was a correct process. We found out the time limit. We did that. Leah had been notifying the applicant, and so when she notified that, they did the withdrawal. So from my perspective, there is no project out there at this point. Anything that comes in from a public record standpoint, you can you come into the office, Leah's happy to email that to you. Now, that would be plans and reports. Anything other, would that include like notice of intent and stuff like that?
I have everything.
Yeah, so depending upon what, you can kind of go back and forth with Leah about how much it is, because it's a lot.
Right, so
Uh,
it's probably just better to try to view in person, it sounds like.
Sure.
It sounds like it's too much to send via email if it's too much.
It would be a couple emails, but
Okay,
whichever way you want to do it, send me an email or call the office and we'll figure it out.
okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you so much for your time.
No, you're welcome. Okay. Minutes? Okay, so does anyone have any recommendation, comments, corrections, or anything else for the minutes? Okay. All right. Do I have a motion?
Move to accept the meeting minutes from August 20th.
Wow, that's a long time ago. Do I have a second?
Seconded?
Yep. Do I have all those in favor? Aye. Again, thank you as always to have the minutes done at the
Welcome.
next meeting. Well, you weren't around when we were catching up for like 2 years.
No, but I've heard a lot about it.
Yes, yeah, it was kind of embarrassing. Okay. The only other thing that you have on here is reorganization of commission.
Yeah, I just have it on there because most boards and committees just consider it when we hit the new fiscal year, which
Yep.
I know has now been a while, but
But that's okay. So that's basically is if, so we have one vacancy, so we'd love to get someone to fill that. I don't know if you've had any further discussions.
no luck yet.
Okay. So, and then there's also, as far as the organization, who wants to be chair, things like that. If anyone wants to take over the chair's role, I'd be more than happy to slide down in a chair and happy to help that. If anyone has any desire to do that, that, it's good type of thing. And if we want to rotate that, we could also do that, just to kind of give more people more experience.
My schedule's terrible. Like, I'm not gonna be at the next meeting either, and I feel bad, I hope it's not too much of an issue, but I started a new job in June, so my
Okay.
travel is, challenging.
Okay.
It's a startup, so there's 3 of us covering everything.
Okay. So
But
is-
I'll be here as much as I can.
Yep, okay, so and at this point, with 4 people, it's,
Yeah.
we,
I'll know I'll probably know fairly, like, long in advance. Like, I already know I'm not gonna be at the next meeting.
Yep.
Because we're trying to schedule things as far out as we can.
mm-hmm,
Just because I have a young kid and
Right.
the other person that travels has 2 young kids, so we're trying to, so hopefully I'll know at least 1 meeting in advance, or if not 2,
Yeah.
a month or so if I won't be there.
I get it, I mean, I will probably be traveling more down to New Jersey, just because of the projects I have down there. I have a little bit of say on when I go and when I don't go, like next week I'm in DC for 2 days. Happens to be a non-meeting week, so, we all have jobs, and we don't all have the luxury, and I don't have it all the time when there are meetings, because we have clients.
I think you have more of an insight, an engineering and insight as to what to ask the people that are before the commission. And I know I'm learning a lot from you just listening to you, but it's, I know I couldn't fill your shoes.
You will someday. You will. Yeah, so that's fine, so that's, we could, it's up to everyone here. We can have a formal vote to keep me as chair for a while, or if everyone just wanna keep it as it going, that's fine. But if people, please, if you wanna, for a while there, we had co-chairs, or if you wanna be assistant, or you wanna, try it out and run a meeting or 2, before I'm not here or something, that's totally, I'm open to any of those type of things, so.
Yeah, I'm certainly willing to rotate in at some point to try
Okay.
to get some experience, because
That's great.
I'm aware that at some point you
Yeah. You
can't do everything.
That's great, that's kinda, that would be good, and obviously I'm here to help and so forth, and,
What would happen if well, what would happen if someone didn't ask the questions you ask? I mean, would just look at them like the deer in the headlights and?
Well, I
and-
think, well, you know, there's a couple folks that have good backgrounds here, and so,
Yeah,
and
but-
have been on the commission for
Yeah.
a while. I mean, that's why we have a peer reviewer. That's why we have an agent, is that support. So that's, you know, that's a big part of it. And that's, I mean,
Oh, no doubt, I'm sure that, you know, everybody here would ask questions, but you being in the position that you're in, it just seems like you have an insight to this.
yeah, I have more experience. I mean, that's what I have. But this is really, this agent report is critical.
Mm.
I mean, you can tell when I'm like on the wrong one, when, what about this? So, you know, that's important, and I can tell you, on a lot of commissions, this doesn't get done, the meetings don't get done, we have good support at here.
Hmm.
So we wanna kinda keep that. And
Yeah.
speaking of that, do we have,
Starting interviews next week
okay,
for an admin.
all right, great, and that's gonna be more shared, or is this part-time, or what's?
They bumped it up to full-time, but they also added on support for Affordable Housing Trust.
Which is absolutely fine.
So it won't be the full 35 to Concom, but
Right.
it'll be more than, I think they started the posting at 20.
More than 0 that you have now.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good, so, yeah.
One thing I would like to do, if time allows, is like, I know with site visits, with Maria not being here anymore, that's kind of challenging. I probably would need some reminders, because I've been out of doing environmental stuff for a while, but I could help with that as time allows. And I do have some flexibility now, because I work from home every Wednesday, so like, if you're going out to do stuff on a Wednesday, I could come with you and
That'd be great.
help out in that
Yeah.
way.
Oh, that'd be great, and it's
Yeah.
just, it's always good to have someone from the commission who's been to the site,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, my schedule is totally nuts right now.
That's the only thing I worked into this new job, is that every Wednesday.
Okay, no, that's great, there's been a couple of times when, especially when an enforcement order comes in.
Yep.
It's better, it's nicer to have one of the commission members there, if for nothing else, is to report out
Mhm.
and stuff, and so that's great, so I appreciate that. I'm sure Leah's going.
I wrote it down.
Okay, anything else?
Nope, I don't have anything else.
Okay,
Could I ask something, an opinion of the commission? In regards to the invasive plants down, choking out the little Fisherville Pond, I'm just gonna run this by you. Being, as far as trying to get funding going.
yep,
Being a fisherman's kind of place, you know, boating, fishing, is it out of the, I mean, am I like out in space somewhere to think, well, can I approach like Bass Pro or Cabela's? I mean, is that sort of thing, I mean, if they had voluntary community
outreach or
support,
whatever, yeah.
do you think that that's like crazy to even hunt that down? I mean, all those people shop at all those places, you know, and I would think that, you know, just the community and and of the passion of fishing and boating and everything else, even if we wanted to say, well, we'll just make a nice little sign down there or something that would say, you know, this.
If any corporation wanted to fund or have some program that does, you know, invasive plant removals, and you find out about it and you ask, I mean, as long as you bring it here, I'm like, go for it, yeah.
Well, I just didn't know if that would be like a no, don't do that.
Not that I know of. I
Yeah.
mean, once you find out about what that is, then we would
Well,
have
yeah.
to,
Well,
but,
I want to get a little bit more like, I know that we have been in contact with that Solitude, is that? And I just don't want to try to approach possibly these different businesses and just not have, you know, okay, so it's going to be about this much money, or just not just go in there like cold and have more of a.
well, you've got
present.
that report there that gave us some estimates.
Right, right.
So you can just say, you know, we're looking to try to, you know, find the funds. You know, I'm trying to think of, I would think that the town would accept a corporate process to doing something like that. I don't,
would, yeah.
I can double check, but.
yeah, I don't see, you know, I mean,
And is it out of the ordinary to even approach the local banks?
I don't think so. I think if you like, or some of the bigger corporations where they take a whole project on the whole, I think there's a different thing if you're just trying to do fundraising.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I don't know if maybe, if the land trust wanted to be involved. I'm just trying to, I don't know what the mechanism,
Yeah,
to
well,
do
I
that.
just didn't, I wanted to run this by you guys before I started, you know, writing down notes and little
yeah. I mean, I don't know, I
flashcards
mean,
and
if you
stuff.
can ask if there's, you know, if we were to get a corporate donor to do cleanup of invasives in a pond,
Yeah, I'll
mean,
ask.
I'm just thinking the worst-case scenario is that they say no,
Right.
you know?
oh, and you'll never get a yes if you don't ask.
Right, I know.
I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, it's
okay.
just as long as, yeah, if you check and just see if,
Yeah, let me just double check.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, the whole idea is, yeah, I mean,
I know we accept donations. We have a conservation fund.
right,
We got one donation since I've been here, like in memorial of someone who
Yep.
passed. But that's specifically for either buying more conservation land or taking care of conservation land.
right.
But maybe we could set up a similar account for this type of project. I'll just have to check.
Mhm. Okay.
Because I'd also be curious if there's any grants out there for it too, you know, through the state.
Yeah, I have heard that there are, but, you know, pockets are only so deep and,
It usually
that
doesn't
sort of
pay
thing.
for everything.
right.
Oh,
right.
and I did talk to Joanne with CPC.
Yep.
And she was able to look up if other towns have applied for similar projects, and she did find like 4 or 5 towns that had got funding for
Really?
invasives in ponds. She said most of them seem to be tied back to the recreation component, but that wouldn't be a problem for Fisherville or Lake Ripple, because people fish and boat. It might be an issue for, I forget, is it Hayes? The one
Hayes
off of
Pond.
the cemetery?
I walk by there every day, not every day, but quite frequently, and there are people, I've seen people fish there.
I saw kids fishing the one day I went, but
It's, yeah, usually
it
people.
doesn't have like boat access, so I don't know if we could make that reach there,
Yeah.
but for the other two, I think it's a possibility.
Yeah, if you're gonna fish there, there are different lots around there that have boats. And
Okay.
you'll occasionally see a boat out there,
Okay.
but they're coming off private property, not public.
Yep.
But it's, yeah, that's, yeah. I mean, if you can find something, go for it. I mean, again, just check
Yeah.
in to make sure we're
I
not.
just wanted to run it by
Yep,
the
no,
commission
that's-
before I started my
Okay.
quest.
Yeah, that's cool, that's great.
Was there supposed to be a training? Scott was on a subcommittee for Lake Quinsigamond, and there was supposed to be some sort of training on invasive species, and we were supposed to potentially help with some of them. Does anyone remember that? It was like,
I
That I don't
vaguely
remember.
remember that, now that you're saying it.
yeah, we were supposed to have, they were gonna come and teach us about it, and
I'll email the contact that I have over there.
okay.
Okay, yeah, that's,
'Cause I know Scott was on every subcommittee that we had.
yeah, I do CPC. And, yeah, the others aren't active really at this point, so. But, okay, is there anything else? Seeing nothing, do I have a motion to close this meeting?
Motion to close the meeting?
Second,
I second it.
all those in favor?